everyone's talking about foreclosures going up and jumping straight to the housing crash. That's not really what those numbers mean. They're timing. Over 40,000 homes entered foreclosure in 1 month. But none of those problems started that month. They started much earlier. These numbers are foreclosure filings. And most people don't notice a problem the moment that matters. They actually notice the moment it feels serious and foreclosure is actually filed. Those are completely different moments. So instead of worrying about the market crashing, you want to know where you are in that sequence. Let's talk about filings versus reality, because a foreclosure filing doesn't mean a house is foreclosed on, and it doesn't mean that the bank took it away. Sometimes the owner sells, sometimes the loan gets modified, sometimes it becomes a short sale, and sometimes you are simply able to catch up with all the missed payments. So prices don't suddenly drop from this. What changes is one homeowner's situation at a time. The headlines, they're just counting how many reach the same point altogether at the same time. But the reality is, and this is where the headlines gets misleading, because people hear foreclosures rising and picture the market getting flooded with houses. That's nowhere near what's happening right now. It takes a massive wave of inventory to flip a seller's market into a buyer's market, far more than these filings. And most of these homes never even become vacant or bank properties. They get sold or worked out way before that. So the market isn't getting overwhelmed. Individual homeowners are. That's why this matters less as a market crash story and more as a timing story for you. But the question is, how people even end up there? How do you get to this point of a foreclosure being filed? And usually it's nothing crazy or dramatic that happens. Things just happen to tighten up. Prices of groceries, utilities, and just the day-to-day expenses, they all went up. A bill sticks around longer than planned. You moved money to get through the month. Then you expect that the next month will reset everything. And honestly, that's a very reasonable thinking. You're just solving a short-term problem while the loan, it still keeps its own clock. And that gap is what surprises people later. Foreclosures don't come from one missed payment. They come from the moment that the lender stops waiting and starts following procedures and regulations. You won't feel that day, but later the letters will change, deadlines will feel firmer, and now it suddenly will feel serious. And by then, the shift already happened. So for most mortgages, that line shows up around the third missed payment. And before that, the expectation is always recovery. And after that, the file moves toward resolution. And that is when the legal aspect of all this is involved. The house isn't gone or taken away, but the direction did change. Those foreclosure numbers you hear about are mostly people discovering that change much later. The easiest time to deal with this is before a payment is even missed. Once the due date passes, time starts counting whether you're worried or not. And a lot of homeowners do catch up financially. They just catch up after the process moved forward. And that timing difference is what makes everything suddenly harder than expected. So when you hear foreclosures are rising, please don't hear market prediction, and please don't automatically fall for the market crash narrative, but please hear a timing warning instead. Because some people realize where they stood later than they wanted to. Now you know roughly where that line sits. If you are already behind, you'll probably end up talking to the bank very soon. But please be careful, because a lot of people heard their option in that first call without even realizing it. I made a video about that. Watch that next, and if afterward you want to talk through your own situation, the link below is there for you. See you there.